Somewhere deep inside you felt it, that strange tension right before something big happens, almost like life is pressing down on you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. What if I told you the moments that feel like everything is falling apart are often the clearest signal that your breakthrough is imminent? Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've outgrown an energetic pattern and the universe is rearranging itself to reflect a new version of you. But that rearrangement often comes disguised as chaos. This is where most people get lost. They confuse the collapse with failure, not realizing that in the quantum field, collapse is what allows creation. Think about the double-slit experiment in quantum physics. Particles behave like waves in a pure potential until observed. It's the active focus of intention that collapses those waves into a single outcome. But what isn't talked about enough is that before the collapse, there's disorder, a field of infinite probabilities, all vibrating. All available. When you're on the edge of a breakthrough, your reality begins to shake because the old frequency no longer fits. You're not failing, you're retuning, but the shift doesn't feel soft. It feels like emotional whiplash. Plans fall through, people leave, opportunities stall. Suddenly your clarity becomes confusion. Your calm turns to doubt. And that's where the deeper initiation begins, because the field is not asking you to do more. It's asking you to let go of what you thought was stable so you can align with what's actually true. That tension you're feeling, it's the friction between the old self trying to hold on and the quantum self trying to emerge. Let's go even deeper. In systems theory, there's a term called bifurcation point. It's the moment when a system under increasing pressure can no longer maintain its previous structure and is forced to evolve into a more complex, more coherent state. But here's the paradox. To reach that new state, the system must first pass through chaos. What looks like destruction is actually reorganization. What feels like resistance is actually realignment. This exact dynamic exists within your consciousness. Your thoughts, beliefs, emotions all form a living system. And when that system is no longer sustainable for the level of energy you're stepping into, it begins to destabilize. Not because you're broken, but because you're becoming too powerful for the old version of reality you were living in. In those moments when everything feels out of control, you have a choice. Contract back into what's familiar or breathe through the fire and allow the field to rewire you. Here's what's wild and often missed. Your body knows what to do with chaos. Your heart, when in a state of coherence, sends a signal to your brain that creates emotional clarity. Your breath, when deep and slow, calms your nervous system and opens your awareness. Your intention, when clear, programs your field. So the question becomes, can you stay present in the shake-up? Can you stop trying to fix what's dissolving and instead trust what's forming? There's a reason this energy feels so intense right now. On a collective level, many people are going through what mystics and scientists alike have called the disintegration of identity. It's the breakdown of the parts of you that were based on fear, control, and separation. And while it may feel like the end, it's really the threshold. You are not losing your path, you're being redirected to the version of you who's already aligned with the frequency of your next chapter. If you've made it this far, it means something in you is already shifting. You wouldn't be here otherwise. This message finds you now because you are right at the edging and your next version is already waiting in the field. In the next part of this journey, you'll discover the deeper mechanics of this collapse and rebuild cycle. You'll see how chaos in your emotional field signals coherence trying to emerge, and most importantly, you'll learn how to recognize the signs that your breakthrough is not only close, it's already in motion. So stay with me. The truth is deeper than it seems, and what's on the other side of this difficulty and I will make everything worth it. Have you ever noticed that the moment right before something finally shifts is often when you're most tempted to give up? There's a reason for that, and it's not psychological, it's energetic. Before quantum system reorganizes into a new level of coherence, it often passes through a state of chaotic uncertainty. This isn't just metaphor. It's a principle observed in biology, in fluid dynamics, in the evolution of galaxies, and yes, in your consciousness. You see, everything in your life is a frequency. Your relationships, your bank account, your health, your emotions, all of them are expressions of the dominant energy you've been broadcasting. But when you begin to change your inner state, when you meditate, regulate your nervous system, shift your focus, declare new intentions, the field around you begins to respond. And here's where it gets complex. Your current reality, even if it's painful, is held together by energetic agreements. Your thoughts, beliefs, and habits have formed a sort of gravitational pull that stabilizes your world. When you start upgrading your frequency, those stabilizing patterns start to break apart. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. Then subtly, friction begins to build. You feel more tired than usual. Unexpected setbacks appear. People who once felt aligned start to feel distant. This is where most people make the mistake of interpreting resistance as a sign to stop. But what's actually happening is that your internal coherence is rising and the parts of your life that no longer resonate are being shaken loose. It's not sabotage, it's synchronization. This shaking, this unease is a necessary decoherence. The old frequency is losing its hold, and your nervous system is adjusting to the new pattern you're anchoring. From a quantum point of view, this is the moment right before reconfiguration. It's when the wave of possibility begins to collapse, not into failure, but into form. But here's the critical thing. What determines what the field collapses into is your emotional state during this period of instability. If you contract in fear, you signal the field to restore the familiar, even if it's painful. If you stay present and breathe through the discomfort, you stabilize the new frequency. It's like surfing. The wave builds, lifts, becomes chaotic. And in that moment, you can either panic and fall or lean into the momentum and ride it to shore. So what are the signs that you're in the middle of a vibrational shift? Sudden emotional surges. You feel grief, rage, or fear come up without clear reason. This is stored energy leaving your field. Old patterns resurfacing. Triggers you thought you'd healed return. Not as a regression, but as a final release. Disorientation. You question everything. Your purpose, relationships, even your spiritual practices. This is identity dissolution, not confusion. Time distortion. Days feel slow or surreal. This means your brain is exiting survival mode and recalibrating. Deep stillness after storm. Moments of strange peace appear even amidst external chaos. This is the new coherence beginning to emerge. You're not losing your way. You're exiting the frequency where your old life made sense. This process is sacred, but it's also uncomfortable by design because without discomfort, there's no detachment. And without detachment, the field has no space to deliver the new. Spiritual teachers have long called this the dark night of the soul, but from a modern quantum lens, we might call it the vibrational death of the outdated self. And like all deaths, it must be honored, not rushed, not denied, not escaped. Because what comes next is a level of alignment, creativity, and clarity you've never accessed before. But to reach it, you must stay present through the noise. You must remember the breakdown is not personal. It's mechanical. It's vibrational. It's preparation. In the next part of this experience, we'll explore how to work with this discomfort, not resist it, and how to stay energetically aligned through the shift instead of collapsing in it. Because the energy you choose to hold during the most difficult moments is what writes the signature of your next reality, and your new timeline is closer than you think. Sometimes before your life expands, it contracts, not because you're going backwards, but because something deep in your field is making room. Most people miss this. They feel the contraction and assume it's failure. They don't realize it's a sign that their current frequency can no longer contain the energy they've begun to emit. But if you look closer, you'll see that your external life always reflects your energetic set point. And as you start to elevate that frequency through healing, intention, or presence, the field must rearrange to match it. This rearrangement doesn't always look like flow. Often it looks like friction because friction is a sign of recalibration. Let me tell you a story. A man had been visualizing a career change for over a year. He practiced gratitude, meditation, and declared his intentions daily. Nothing happened until everything started going wrong. Suddenly, his projects fell apart. His confidence collapsed. He started questioning the entire process, but what he didn't see until later was that those apparent breakdowns were not blocks. They were clearing space because days later, a new opportunity emerged, one that didn't fit into his old identity, but aligned perfectly with who he had been becoming. The collapse was not punishment. It was the precursor to breakthrough. Here's what the field understands better than your conscious mind. You don't just manifest what you want. You manifest what you're coherent